It was supposed to be just another run. Central Park was still waking up, soaked in early sunlight and silence, the kind that wraps around your thoughts and makes the world feel slower. Mia Thompson, sneakers hitting the pavement with rhythm, chased peace more than cardio. But in the blink of an eye, life threw her a curveball. A tiny, yapping dog, unleashed and fearless, dashed across her path. That single second of instinct changed everything. She pivoted, breath caught in her throat, trying to avoid the pup.
Hello, I'm going to tell you this incredible story. Put on your headphones for a better experience and sit comfortably because you're going to be moved. Remember that to receive new stories like this, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, and activate the notification bell. Without further ado, let's get to the rest of the story.
Her foot landed wrong, her balance gave out, and as she stumbled, her hand grazed against something hard and glossy. That something was no ordinary object. It was the side of a black luxury car, its surface gleaming like a mirror. The sound of her silver ring scraping the paint echoed louder than it should have. She froze, pulse racing, already dreading what she'd just done. Before she could even assess the damage, the door flung open. A man stepped out with sharp features and an even sharper stare, dressed like he walked out of a fashion magazine. The tension in the air was immediate, thick, electric, undeniable. Mia opened her mouth to explain, but words felt clumsy in the presence of someone so composed. This didn't feel like just a scratch anymore. It felt like stepping into a real story waiting to unfold. The man eyed the mark, then locked eyes with her, as if trying to read her soul in one glance. And in that intense silence, something deeper stirred. Mia didn't know who he was, but something told her this was more than an unfortunate mishap. It felt like the beginning of one of those emotional story arcs people only see in films, except it was happening to her. The dog, oblivious, had already vanished. Mia tried to steady her voice, offering an awkward apology, fingers trembling slightly. "It's just a scratch," she said, trying to sound casual, but regretting it the moment the words left her mouth. The man's expression darkened, like a storm rolling in. She wasn't sure why, but she didn't want to look weak in front of him. Maybe it was pride, or maybe something else, like the stubborn part of us that refuses to shrink, even when we're wrong. The car, now clearly seen in full view, screamed wealth and precision, something way out of Mia's league. But instead of running or panicking, she stood tall, refusing to be reduced to a clumsy jogger. Little did she know, that choice, standing firm in a moment most people would shrink, would set in motion a chain of touching stories she could never have imagined. The world around her stayed still, but inside, something had shifted. She didn't know his name, and he didn't ask for hers. The silence between them carried more meaning than any shouting match could. As they stood there, eyes locked, neither realized that this strange, almost cinematic encounter wasn't the end of something embarrassing. It was the start of a collision neither of them could undo. A scratch, a stare, a spark. And somewhere beneath it all, something was quietly beginning. Lucas Bennett didn't raise his voice, but somehow that made it worse. His words were clipped, cold, precise, like daggers wrapped in velvet. "Do you even know how much this car costs?" he asked, tone dripping with disdain. Mia blinked, unsure if she was more shocked by the question or by the man's intensity. She tried to explain again, but it was like reasoning with Winter. Nothing warmed his expression. She mumbled something about it being just a scratch, an innocent mistake. That was the wrong move. Lucas's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing as if she'd insulted his existence. "That's a $300,000 machine," he snapped, each word landing with weight. In that moment, it didn't matter if she was kind or sorry. She was carelessness personified to him. But what Mia didn't realize was, she'd just met someone used to emotional walls, not emotional story connections. Lucas wasn't angry just because of the scratch. He was angry because control, to him, was safety, and that scratch represented chaos. People like Lucas don't trust easily. They manage, calculate, protect. And Mia, with her casual tone and defiant stance, was a disruption he hadn't prepared for. But something about her, maybe the fire in her eyes, made him hesitate. There was pain in him, and something in her presence began to stir it. Mia didn't flinch, though she wanted to. "I said I'm sorry," she added, firmer this time. She could have backed down, walked away, or groveled. But instead, she held her ground. Not because she didn't feel small, but because something inside her said this man needed to see she wouldn't be crushed. It wasn't pride. It was dignity, and that's something real story moments are made of. The clash was more than an argument. It was a collision of worlds. One used to control, the other to navigate in chaos. Mia had spent her life fighting to be seen. Lucas had spent his hiding behind his empire. They were both strong in different ways, and neither of them knew what to do with that. There was an unspoken energy now, and under all that tension, chemistry. He gave one last scowl and turned to examine the damage in silence, fingers grazing the scratch like it was a scar. Mia crossed her arms, pretending not to care, though her heart thudded in her ears. They didn't know each other, but in that strange moment, they both recognized something familiar. The sting of disappointment, the burden of expectations, the fear of being misunderstood. Sometimes, touching stories don't start with love, they start with conflict. Neither said another word before parting ways, but something lingered in the air, a tension that felt oddly magnetic. And as Mia walked away, glancing back only once, she didn't know it, but this wasn't the last time she'd see him. In fact, her next encounter with the cold stranger would happen in a setting she least expected. Mia had almost forgotten about the job application. Life had been chaotic lately. Rent due, bills piling up, dreams feeling more like burdens than possibilities. So when she got the call for Bennett Enterprises, she felt a flicker of hope she hadn't felt in weeks. She ironed her best blazer, rehearsed answers in the mirror, and told herself, "You've got this." It was a chance, not for a miracle, but for a step forward in her real story. The office lobby was marble and silence, the kind of place where people whisper even if no one's listening. Mia sat clutching her resume, breathing carefully, trying to steady her nerves. When the assistant called her name, she stood too quickly, heart-skipping beats for all the wrong reasons. She walked into the room, smile ready, then stopped dead in her tracks. There he was, Lucas Bennett. Their eyes met, and the room instantly froze. His surprise was subtle, just a flicker in those cold blue eyes. But it was there. Mia's heart sank. She expected rejection right then and there. But instead, Lucas gestured for her to sit. No acknowledgement of their last meeting. Just icy professionalism. She sat, unsure if this was a bad dream or a twisted emotional story in the making. Lucas didn't make it easy. His questions were sharp, layered with hidden traps, clearly aimed at seeing if she'd break. But Mia had nothing left to lose. She answered with honesty, courage, and a grit she didn't even know she had. She didn't try to impress. She just told her truth. And somehow, that honesty, that rawness, struck a chord deep inside him. He hired her, but not without a catch. Probationary. 3 months. High performance expected, he said flatly, sliding the offer across the desk. Mia took it almost in disbelief. She had walked in hoping for a job and walked out carrying 1,000 emotions. Relief, confusion, anxiety, and something else. A curiosity that felt dangerous but impossible to ignore. The office environment was a world of precision, expectation, and pressure. From day one, Lucas watched her like a hawk, testing her limits. Some days, she thought about quitting, about going back to small dreams and safer spaces. But something about this challenge, about proving herself in a place where she was underestimated, felt right. Like she was finally stepping into her own narrative. And Lucas? He acted like the scratch incident never happened. But beneath that perfect posture and unreadable face, something was shifting. He wasn't just watching her work. He was watching her. The way she handled pressure. The way she stood tall, even when she doubted herself. And slowly, this job, this twist of fate, was becoming far more than either of them expected. Mia didn't get a warm welcome at Bennett Enterprises. Her desk was far from the sunlight. Her tasks were overwhelming. And her deadlines? Brutal. Lucas didn't speak much, but when he did, his words were sharp, designed to challenge, not encourage. It felt like a test she wasn't meant to pass. Still, something in her refused to fold. This wasn't just about surviving a job. It was about proving her worth in her own emotional story. Lucas made it clear, no room for mistakes. Every file, every presentation, every number had to be flawless. While others crumbled or played it safe, Mia doubled down. She worked late into the night, ran on coffee and ambition, and poured her soul into every assignment. Slowly, the team began to notice. The new girl with fire in her eyes wasn't just another temp. She was the real deal. Mia had her breaking points, though. Nights when she cried in the elevator, wondering why she kept fighting for a place that barely acknowledged her. But then she'd remember the scratch, that car, that moment of defiance. She couldn't explain it, but something about Lucas, about this whole twisted journey, made her want to keep going. Maybe it wasn't about him. Maybe it was about reclaiming her voice in a world that had too often silenced it. And Lucas? He noticed more than he let on. He saw her staying past midnight, cleaning up others' messes, taking responsibility for things no one asked her to fix. He started asking questions about her, not just professionally, but personally. Who was this woman who refused to break under pressure? Why did her courage unsettle him more than any boardroom fight ever had? It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was admiration, quiet, growing, undeniable. One day, he passed by her office and paused. She was asleep at her desk, cheek resting on a folder. Her laptop was still open, a spreadsheet glowing on the screen. And something in him cracked. He remembered how it felt to care, to believe in someone. He didn't know it yet, but Mia was rewriting a part of his heart he thought was long closed off. Touching stories don't always start with tenderness. Sometimes they start with tension. Mia, too, began seeing a different side of him. She noticed how he carried silence like a shield, how he flinched when others got too close. He wasn't cold, he was guarded, and buried beneath that armor was someone broken by betrayal, not built for cruelty. It made her see him not as the enemy, but as someone also searching for healing in his own real story. Things hadn't softened entirely, far from it, but respect began to replace resentment. Glances turned longer. Conversations became more layered. And though neither dared name it yet, something was brewing. Something neither deadlines nor egos could control. A connection, a collision. And like most emotional story arcs worth telling, this one was just getting started. It happened on a Monday. The kind of Monday that starts with coffee spills and inbox overload. Mia was wrapping up a crucial report when security escorted her from the building. No explanation, just cold stares. Her heart dropped. Confusion turned to shock when she learned the accusation. Leaking confidential data. Just like that, her real story at Bennett Enterprises crashed without warning. Lucas didn't ask questions. No meeting, no second chance. He called her in, showed her an email thread she'd never seen before, and told her to pack up. His voice was distant. No trace of the man who'd started to let her in. Mia stood frozen, humiliated, heartbroken. She tried to speak, but he was already walking away. The betrayal cut deeper than the dismissal. Out in the street, the city felt louder, meaner. She wandered, numb, like the ground had been pulled out from under her. Had everything been a lie? The long nights, the glances, the unspoken warmth? Emotional story moments are cruel like that. When you're almost at the peak, the fall feels more violent. But Mia wasn't the type to stay down. No, not after everything she had survived. She started digging, checked emails, traced timestamps, followed digital trails. And what she found nearly made her laugh, if it weren't so tragic. A colleague, threatened by her rising influence, had planted the leak to frame her. The evidence was clear. But what haunted her most wasn't the betrayal from the coworker. It was Lucas's silence. His immediate judgment. The man who once looked at her with fire now looked away with ice. When the truth finally reached Lucas, it hit him like a gut punch. He couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. All he could see was Mia's face, the hurt in her eyes, the way she didn't even fight back. He realized he hadn't just fired an employee. He had let down someone who believed in him. Someone who didn't just show up for the job, but had shown up for him in ways no one had in years. He searched everywhere. Emails, social media, even that bakery near her old apartment. No sign, until one morning, back where it all started, he saw a familiar figure jogging in the park. Mia, same determined stride, same ponytail bouncing with every step. His breath caught. The world tilted. And for the first time in a long while, Lucas felt something real, regret, and hope. He approached slowly, uncertain of his welcome. She stopped, turned, and for a moment neither spoke. Then Lucas did something he wasn't used to. He apologized. Not just with words, but with sincerity. With eyes that said, "I see you now." And this time, as they ran together, not as adversaries, not as boss and employee, but as two flawed souls finding rhythm in each other's pace, something new began to bloom. And with it, a new chapter of their emotional story quietly unfolded. Have you ever been judged unfairly, only to prove everyone wrong in the end? Or maybe life hit you with a moment so unexpected, it flipped your world upside down? This emotional story isn't just about a scratch on a car. It's about how real connections can be born from chaos. But now I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Mia's place that day in the park? Do you believe things really happen for a reason? Or was this just a lucky twist of fate? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, if stories like this one touch something in you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the next touching stories we have coming your way.